Rosa wakes up every day before sunrise. The kettle hisses in the small kitchen, while the smell of freshly brewed coffee fills the air. She dons her carefully pressed blue uniform and ties her hair in a simple bun. Before leaving, she gives her still sleepy children a lingering kiss. In that gesture, there's love, exhaustion, and a silent strength the world insists on ignoring. The drive to work is long. 2 buses, a walk, and the distant look of someone who's learned to carry the weight of responsibilities without complaint. Rosa watches people through the window and imagines a different life, but soon returns to reality. She has bills to pay and children to raise. The clock reads 6:45 a.m. When she gets off at the corner of the mansion where she works, the house is imposing, with high gates and bright windows. Rosa takes a deep breath before ringing the doorbell. Even after 2 years working there, she still feels butterflies in her stomach. The doorman opens the door and waves with a small smile, one of the few gestures of kindness she receives there. Inside, the silence is elegant and oppressive. Every footstep echoes against the marble, as if reminding her that she doesn't belong there. But Rosa stands her ground. Her work is impeccable, every corner spotlessly clean, every detail cared for with the same care she devotes to her own home. She believes dignity is proven in small acts. When she finishes tidying the master bedroom, she looks out the window and sees the sky reflecting off it in shades of gold. It's the only time of day she allows herself to dream. Dreaming of the day she'll be seen not as the maid, but as a woman with value, history, and soul. The work environment, the house where Rosa works, is a portrait of luxury and human distance. The furniture is dark wood, the carpets are imported, and the portraits on the walls display frozen smiles. Her employer, Donna Helena, is an elegant but cold woman. Her eyes measure people as if evaluating objects. Rosa notices this, but she has learned to tolerate it. At breakfast, Rosa serves the table in silence. Every movement is restrained, careful, so as not to draw attention. Helena rarely thanks her, she just observes, looking for something to fix. "You spilled a drop on the saucer," she says, without looking up from the newspaper. Rosa simply apologizes. Inside, she feels the weight of being judged for every gesture. Every tiny mistake, as if her color were an indelible stain. There are other employees, but none receive the same suspicious look as Rosa. She notices this, but prefers to believe it's just her imagination. When the boss's daughter, Clara, enters the kitchen, the atmosphere softens. The teenager smiles, speaks loudly, and sometimes even helps set the table. Rosa likes the girl. She sees in her a purity that hasn't yet been corrupted by her mother's pride. As the days pass, however, the atmosphere inside the house grows increasingly tense. Helena walks nervously, speaks harshly, and lets out cutting phrases. "There are things that simple people don't understand," she says at one point, looking directly at Rosa. Those words hurt more than a slap, but Rosa remains silent. She knows that, in that house, her voice doesn't carry the same weight. At the end of the day, when everyone is asleep, Rosa mops the living room lit only by the lamplight. As she cleans the cold marble floor, she thinks about how many times she's had to swallow tears to keep smiling. And yet, tomorrow, she'll return. Because that's what strong women do, they keep going, even when the world tries to stop them. The relationship with the employer, as the months pass, Rosa becomes familiar with every routine in the house, Donna Helena's every mood, every silence that precedes a complaint. Helena is a demanding woman, with a sharp voice and an impatient look. To her, Rosa is just another employee, someone to be paid for a service, not someone with a story, a heart, or a dream. Even so, Rosa treats her with respect. She calls her ma'am, avoids direct eye contact, and never responds when unfairly reprimanded. She's learned that in certain households, responding is synonymous with insolence. Inside, however, she holds every word like a stone in her chest. There are days when Helena displays a coldness that cuts through the air. At lunch, she comments to a friend, "I actually like her, but, you know, we have to be careful, right? You never know." Rosa listens from the kitchen. The fork in her hand trembles. Prejudice is there, disguised as prudence, like an ancient shadow, but there's something that softens her, her daughter, Clara. The girl treats Rosa with genuine affection. She enjoys talking, listening to her stories, and even helping with the cooking. Rosa sees her as a reminder of what the world can still be, pure, kind, and just. One day, Clara hugs her and says, "You're like an aunt to me." Rosa smiles, moved, but doesn't respond. She knows that, in certain places, affection is something that costs a lot. Her boss enters the room at that moment and, seeing the scene, frowns. Her gaze is icy. Rosa understands the message without a word being said. Over time, the tension settles into silence. Helena begins to treat her with even greater distance. Small mistakes turn into big arguments, and Rosa senses something is about to happen. She doesn't know what, she just feels the weight of the air, like before a storm. One rainy morning, Helena gives her husband the diamond necklace to be repaired, but changes her mind and puts it in the safe. Rosa witnesses the scene and continues her work, little imagining that this small object would become the focus of her greatest pain. Clara, watching from afar, is fascinated by the necklace's shine. Rosa notices the girl's enchanted gaze but says nothing. She remembers how she, too, dreamed of beautiful things when she was young, before life taught her the price of appearance. At the end of the day, Rosa leaves with a heavy heart and a tired body. The bus rocks, and she looks at her reflection in the window. Outside, the world goes on, but inside her, there's a strange premonition, as if something invisible is about to collapse. The necklace disappears, the next morning begins like any other. Rosa arrives early, straightens her uniform, and begins cleaning. Helena is more irritable than usual, pacing back and forth. When she enters her boss's room, Rosa notices the safe door open. The necklace is gone, the silence that follows is eerie. Helena screams the names of all the employees, and the sound echoes through the hallways. "Who took my necklace?" Her voice is sharp, full of fury. Rosa approaches, confused, and tries to help. But the look Helena gives her is different, heavy, suspicious, cold. "Did you come in here yesterday?" Helena asks, her eyebrow arched. Rosa hesitates, surprised. "Yes, ma'am, to clean. Like every day." Helena crosses her arms, assessing her as if she's just found the culprit. Rosa's heart races. The other employees look at each other, not daring to intervene. Rosa tries to explain, but the words seem lost in the air. "I would never touch anything that wasn't mine, ma'am." Helena rolls her eyes. "That's what everyone always says." Tension mounts. Helena begins rummaging through drawers, bags, and closets, each movement accompanied by veiled accusations. "You're the only one who has constant access to this room." Rosa feels her face burn. She wants to scream, but fear paralyzes her. Clara enters the room, frightened. "Mommy, what happened?" Helena replies curtly, "The necklace is gone. And until it appears, no one leaves this house." Rosa looks at the girl with teary eyes, and Clara senses something wrong, a deep pain she is still too young to understand. Helena decides to search everyone. When it's Rosa's turn, the embarrassment is unbearable. She opens her bag, shows her pockets, her uniform. Nothing. Still, Helena continues. "You know how it is, some people are good at hiding things." Racism materializes, raw and direct. Rosa feels tears welling up, but doesn't respond. The humiliation is so great that the ground seems to disappear beneath her feet. When they finally release her, Helena says, "I want you out of my house." Now, Rosa leaves, without looking back. Her heart broken. Outside, the sky is gray, as if the world is also crying for her. But what Rosa doesn't know yet, is that the truth is about to come out, and it will change everything. Unjust accusation. Rosa arrives home with a heavy heart. Her employer's cold, suspicious gaze echoes in her mind like a silent sentence. During the night, she tries to pray, but the words won't come. Only tears fall onto her pillow. The next day, she decides to return. She wants to show she has nothing to hide. Entering the mansion, she feels the air heavy. Everyone is looking at her as if they know something. Helena is in the living room, arms crossed. "I didn't expect to see you here," he says sarcastically. Rosa swallows hard. "I came to work, ma'am. I have faith the necklace will turn up." Helena lets out a bitter laugh. "Faith? Rosa, stop playing innocent. You're the only one who could have taken it." The words cut deep, and Rosa feels the ground disappear. "I would never touch anything of yours, ma'am." "Never," she says, almost in tears, but Helena doesn't hear her. "Do you think I'm an idiot? A woman like you wouldn't stand a chance wearing a necklace like that. You could only sell it." Pain mingles with anger. Rosa looks around, the other employees look away, complicit in the silence. "You have no proof," she tries to say, her voice trembling. Helena takes a step forward. "I don't need proof. Just look at you." That sentence weighs more than any sentence. Rosa understands, then, that it's not the necklace that's on trial, it's the color of her skin. Clara, watching the scene from the stairs, feels her stomach churn. She wants to defend Rosa, but her mother's fear paralyzes her. Rosa gathers up her uniform and tries to leave. "Don't run!" Helena shouts. "Those who own nothing, fear nothing." The words sound like a whip. Rosa turns away, crying. "I don't run from the truth, madam. I run from evil." And she leaves, her heart in pieces, carrying with her the weight of a guilt that isn't hers. On the way back, the bus seems emptier than ever. People talk and laugh, but Rosa only hears the sound of her own breathing. The world, once again, has condemned her without hearing her voice. When she gets home, her children are waiting for her with dinner. She forces a smile and says everything is fine. But her distant gaze betrays otherwise. Inside her, something begins to break, not her faith, but her hope for human justice. Public humiliation. The next day, Helena decides to close the case. But first, she calls all the employees to a meeting. Rosa is called, confused. Upon arriving, she finds everyone gathered in the main room. The necklace is still missing, and Helena wants to set an example. "Let's settle this now," says the boss, with a theatrical tone. "Open your bags." Everyone. The employees obey, one by one, under her watchful eye. When it's Rosa's turn, there's absolute silence. Rosa opens her bag. She reveals everything: lunchbox, handkerchief, notebook, wallet. "Nothing?" Helena asks sarcastically. "Well, let's see the uniform." Rosa remains motionless. "Ma'am, please." But her boss insists. "Take off your coat. Show me your pockets." The embarrassment is unbearable. Tears stream down her face as she obeys, being searched in front of everyone. Clara, from the stairs, watches the scene in horror. One of the gardeners looks away. Another mutters, "This is too much, Donna Helena." But her employer ignores him. "See?" "Nothing," Rosa says, her voice cracking. "Because I didn't do anything." Helena rolls her eyes. Of course, smart people know how to hide it well." And with a dismissive gesture, she points to the door. "Get out of my house." Now, Rosa picks up her bag without saying a word. Each step toward the gate is a wound. Outside, the cold wind hits her face, mixing with her tears. The doorman tries to say something, but she just shakes her head. She doesn't want pity, she wants dignity. The news spreads quickly. Donna Helena's maid was caught stealing, say the neighbors. The rumor grows, and Rosa, now unemployed, feels stripped not only of her job but also of her honor. At home, her children ask what happened. Rosa can't answer. She just hugs them tightly, trying to hide the trembling in her hands. "Mommy didn't do anything wrong," she whispers, more to herself than to them. That night, Rosa kneels on the floor and prays. My God, if I am innocent, show me the truth. But please don't let my heart turn to stone. And for a moment, through her tears, she feels something inside her, a soft voice saying, wait, daughter. The truth always comes out. Despair at home, Rosa's home, modest and filled with simple memories, seems emptier that night. She arrives with a lost look in her eyes, her body weary, and her heart in ruins. Her children run to the door, smiling, but their smiles are like a knife to her heart. Rosa tries to smile back, but her voice falters. She sits at the table and pretends to be normal. Just a misunderstanding, my loves. Everything will be resolved tomorrow. But the lie weighs heavily. The smell of beans cooking on the stove mingles with the bitter silence. The youngest, Tiago, senses something wrong. Mommy, were you crying? She touches her face, disguising it. It was the wind, my son. Just the wind. When the children are asleep, Rosa goes into the backyard. She sits on a wooden crate and looks up at the sky. The stars seem so far away, as if God is watching her from afar, too. Why, Lord, she whispers. Why always us? The words echo in the void. Tears flow silently, while the sound of crickets fills the air. Rosa remembers her grandmother, who always said, when the world is unfair, daughter, don't silence your soul, silence your anger. She tries to follow the advice, but her heart screams. The phone rings. It's a friend from work, speaking in a low voice. Rosa, I'm sorry, but Donna Helena told everyone you stole. The floor seems to open up. Rosa thanks her, hangs up, and collapses. She cries for hours. She cries for everything, for the humiliation, for the injustice, for the suspicious gaze that always haunts her. She cries for being a woman who constantly needs to prove that she's worthy of existence. As the sun begins to rise, she stands. She looks at herself in the cracked kitchen mirror. Her face is swollen, her eyes are red, but there's something new there. A different glow. They took my job, she says softly, but they won't take away who I am. She makes coffee, wakes her children lovingly, and sends them to school. On the outside, she appears calm. Inside, she's a storm. But deep down, she knows, every storm passes. And the sun always returns, even if it takes a while. Rosa decides to go to her employer's house to try to talk one last time. But before leaving, she grabs the rosary she inherited from her mother. If it's to humiliate me further, Lord, give me strength. But if it's to free me, show me the way. With a heavy heart and a firm step, she closes the door of her house, without imagining that prayer would be the beginning of her redemption. The family impact. The following days are long. The silence in Rosa's house is broken only by the noises of the neighborhood and the innocent questions of her children. News of the accusation spreads quickly, and attitudes begin to change. The woman who was once respected is now the subject of whispers. At school, her eldest son, Daniel, is called a thief's son. He returns home angry, throwing his backpack on the floor. Why are they saying that, Mom? Rosa feels her heart break. Because the world doesn't always want to hear the truth, my son. But the truth doesn't need to shout, it waits for the right time. Still, Daniel doesn't understand. Why didn't you shout it out there? Why didn't you tell everyone? She cups his face and replies. Because sometimes, son, shouting doesn't help. Sometimes, calm is the loudest shout there is. The youngest, Tiago, begins to have nightmares. He dreams of his mother being taken away by police, crying. Rosa wakes in the middle of the night to calm him. It was just a dream, my love. Mommy's here. But deep down, she fears the dream will come true. Her once welcoming neighbors now avoid greeting her. The grocery store owner stops offering credit. You know how it is, Rosa, we need to take care of ourselves. Each sentence is a stab in the soul. Even so, Rosa remains steadfast. She fixes smaller houses, does laundry for others, and bakes cakes to sell. Every real she earns is a small victory. Faith, even wounded, is what keeps her going. One afternoon, she goes to Massachusetts. She sits in the back, rosary between her fingers. The priest talks about forgiveness, but she barely listens. Her heart is torn between pain and the will to fight. As she leaves the church, a neighbor comments, "God may be slow, but he does not fail." Rosa smiles slightly. "Yes, my daughter." And when he acts, no one can stop him. That night, while organizing her children's clothes, a notification buzzes on her phone. It's a message from an old roommate at the mansion. "Rosa, you need to see this." The message comes with an image. She opens it, and her heart skips a beat. In the photo, taken in the mirror of the mistress's room, Clara appears. And there, in the reflection, shining on her neck, is the missing necklace. The community's question, news of Rosa's accusation has already spread throughout the neighborhood. Wherever she goes, she feels eyes follow her, some of pity, others of judgment. "Who would have thought, huh?" whisper some neighbors at the market. Rosa pretends not to hear, but each word is a blow to her weary chest. Little by little, even those closest to her begin to distance themselves. Donna Marta, a longtime neighbor, avoids eye contact. "Oh, Rosa, you just never know, right?" she says, a little embarrassed. Rosa just smiles, without rancor. "I know, Marta. But one day, you'll know everything." Even with all the pain, she maintains her dignity. She continues going to church, selling her cakes, and helping those in need. Some, touched by her serenity, begin to doubt the story her employer told. Could Rosa really be capable of this? They ask quietly. The local pastor, who has known Rosa since she was a girl, decides to visit her. "Daughter, do you want me to speak to a lawyer?" Rosa shakes her head. "No, Pastor. I don't want revenge. I just want the truth to come out, in God's way." At home, her children slowly begin to smile again. She does her best to keep the mood light, even while carrying the weight of the imposed shame. Her oldest, Daniel, begins helping her with the sales. "We'll get through this, Mom." She squeezes his hand, and for the first time, she believes, but the small town is cruel. On every corner, there's someone ready to reminisce about the past. One day, while delivering a cake, Rosa hears, "Be careful she doesn't steal your change." The silence she responds with is deafening. On the way home, the wind blows hard. Rosa closes her eyes and feels the tears fall. "Oh my God, I can't stand being blamed for something I didn't do anymore." At that moment, she sees something in her mind, a flash, a vague memory, as if fate were trying to whisper something. She remembers the last time she saw the necklace. She also remembers Clara's curious gaze, the way she watched it with fascination. And how, the next day, the girl didn't show up for coffee. A shiver runs through her. Is it possible, she thinks. Her heart pounds. Maybe the answer was there all along, and she just didn't want to believe it out of love for the girl. Rosa decides to wait. If it's God's will, he will show the truth in due time. And little does she know that that time is about to arrive. The unexpected revelation, the day dawns calmly, but Rosa's heart beats faster. She puts on her best clothes, simple, but clean and well-pressed. In her hands, she holds her cell phone with the proof that could change everything. With each step toward the mansion, the wind seems to whisper, "Now is your time." When she reaches the gate, the security guard is surprised. "Ms. Rosa? You are back." She just smiles serenely. "Yes. I need to speak with Ms. Helena." The man hesitates, but lets her in. Rosa crosses the garden as if crossing her own past. Helena is in the living room, drinking coffee with a bored expression. When she sees Rosa, her eyes widen. "What are you doing here?" "I already told you I don't want to see your face." Rosa remains calm. "I know, ma'am. But you need to see this." She takes out her phone and shows the photo. Helena takes it, looks at it, and pales. Silence fills the room. The reflection in the mirror leaves no doubt, the necklace is around her own daughter's neck. Helena tries to speak, but her voice falters. Clara, who has been listening to the conversation from upstairs, slowly descends the stairs. When she sees the image, her face pales. "Mom. I can explain." The silence is deafening. Rosa simply watches, without rancor, without anger, only with the dignity of someone who has waited for justice. You took the necklace?" Helena asks, trembling. Clara cries. "I just wanted to wear it for one day. Mom. I was going to give it back. I forgot to put it back in the safe." The words echo like thunder. Helena puts her hands to her head in disbelief. Rosa remains still, motionless. Her heart was a mix of relief and sadness. She didn't want revenge, she just wanted what she deserved, the truth. "Ma'am, now you understand why I never had to scream." Helena begins to cry, a cry that's a mixture of shame and guilt. "My God, what have I done to you, Rosa?" Clara approaches her former employee and, crying, holds her hands. "Forgive me. I didn't mean to cause this." Rosa hugs her silently. "You didn't hurt me, girl. What hurt me was the prejudice that lives in the hearts of adults." The room fills with a sacred silence, not of shame, but of learning. In that moment, the truth isn't just revealed. It liberates. It liberates Rosa, it liberates Clara, and it forces Helena to face the pain she sowed. The final confrontation. Helena's husband arrives home and is informed of what happened. Tension hangs in the air. Helena, embarrassed, tries to explain herself. "I accused the wrong person." The man looks at Rosa sadly. "Forgive me. We were wrong." Rosa just lowers her head. "They weren't wrong. They judged." "And that's different." Helena insists on repairing the damage. "Rosa, I can compensate you. I can even help you find another job." But Rosa refuses. "Money doesn't erase what was said. I don't want handouts, I want respect." Those words linger in the air like an eternal echo. Helena feels her face burn with shame. For the first time, she understands that a person's true value lies not in appearance or color, but in their soul. Rosa gets up to leave. "You took my job away from me, but you couldn't take away my faith. And it's faith that will sustain me from now on." Helena, in tears, tries to hug her, but Rosa only holds her hands. Forgiving isn't forgetting. It's choosing not to let hate live inside. Clara runs to her. "I want to help you, Rosa. Can I visit you?" Rosa smiles tenderly. "Yes, you can, girl. But come as a friend, not as the boss's daughter. The world needs people who learn from their mistakes." As she leaves the house, the wind blows lightly, almost symbolically. Rosa takes a deep breath and feels the weight of injustice dissipate. Each step she takes is a new beginning. Each tear that dries is a seed of hope. On the sidewalk, she looks back. The mansion, once a symbol of pain, now seems smaller. "God, thank you," she whispers. "Not for proving me right, but for teaching me that truth comes in its own time." Days later, the story spreads. Helena publishes a public letter acknowledging her mistake. The community, ashamed, seeks out Rosa to apologize. She listens to each one calmly. Forgiveness is lighter than resentment. "That's what I want to carry on with." In the end, Rosa returns home, where her children greet her with paper flowers. "Mommy won," they say, hugging her. She smiles, moved. "No, my children. The truth won." At that moment, the sun shines through the window and illuminates her face. The woman the world tried to humiliate now shines, not out of revenge, but because the light of truth never goes out. The reparation. In the days following the revelation, the news spreads like wildfire. The story, previously told in cruel whispers, now becomes a lesson in humility. Dona Helena's public letter is read at the neighborhood church. In a trembling voice, she confesses, "I accused an innocent woman, not because of evidence, but because of prejudice." The silence that follows is heavy and sacred. Rosa sits at the back of the church, her hands clasped. Her heart beats calmly, but her eyes are teary. There's no pride in her chest, only gratitude. People turn to look, and this time, not with suspicion, but with regret. At the end of the Mass, Dona Helena approaches. "Rosa. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness." Rosa responds calmly, "Forgiveness isn't earned, Dona Helena. It's granted. Because those who carry hatred don't walk lightly." Clara stands nearby, holding a bouquet of flowers. "These are for you, Rosa. To thank you for not giving up on me, even when I was a coward." Rosa smiles, moved. "Flowers wilt, girl. But what you learn today will bloom forever." The community, previously blinded by prejudice, begins to see. People come to Rosa to apologize. A woman cries. "I repeated what I heard, Rosa. Forgive me." Rosa holds her hands. "Of course. Because that's how we break the cycle, by forgiving." The pastor invites her to give a brief testimony at the following Massachusetts. Rosa steps up to the altar. Shy but firm. "The truth emerged when I stopped trying to prove who I was and started living who I am. No one can steal the peace of a clean soul." Quiet applause echoes throughout the church. Tears streaming down their faces, people rise, not to applaud the drama, but to honor the quiet strength of a woman who refused to give up. Helena, upon returning home, writes in her diary, "I learned that prejudice isn't just ignorance, it's a lack of soul. And today, I met a woman with more soul than I will ever have." Rosa, in turn, returns home with a light heart. That chapter is closed, but her story is just beginning. As she closes the door, she looks at the rosary hanging on the wall and whispers, "Thank you, Lord. Evil tried to bury me, but it forgot that I was a seed." Overcoming, months pass, and Rosa's life begins to blossom again. With the money she saved from sales and the help of the community, she opens a small bakery. On the door, a simple sign, "Sweet Truth," a name chosen with the heart. Homemade cakes and sweets quickly became a hit. But more than the flavors, people seek Rosa's smile. Every customer who enters hears a kind word, a piece of advice, a gesture of kindness. Pain gave way to sweetness. One day, Clara appears at the store with her mother. Helena seems different, more human, more humble. "Can I buy a cake?" she asks, smiling. Rosa replies, "Yes. But no one buys forgiveness here, only love." The three embrace, and the past dissolves like sugar in water. Rosa begins to be invited to give lectures at schools and churches. She tells her story not as a tragedy, but as a testimony. "Injustice can hurt you, but it can't define you," she says. People cry, applaud, and are inspired. At home, the family lives in peace. Daniel and Tiago study with pride. "Our mother is a hero," they tell their classmates. Rosa laughs. "I'm not a hero, my children. I just didn't let evil make me like it." One afternoon, she receives a letter. It's from Dona Helena. "Rosa, I started a social project to employ women who suffer from prejudice. I learned this from you." Rosa's tears flow. "God truly transforms wounds into bridges," she whispers. The days go by lightly. The bakery is filled with life, laughter, and the smell of freshly baked cake. Sometimes Rosa finds herself gazing out the window at the sun, remembering everything she's experienced. But now, when she thinks about the pain, she smiles. It was the pain that shaped her. On the bakery's first anniversary, the community surprises them. A sign on the wall reads, "The Truth Won." Rosa holds the microphone and says, "Life has taught me that those who carry love never lose it, even when the world tries to take it all away." People applaud, and she feels something she hasn't felt in a long time, complete peace. When he closed the shop that day, he looked up to the sky and whispered, "Lord, The necklace they took from me was worth nothing compared to the jewel you gave me, Faith. The final message: the sun sets behind the rooftops, painting the sky golden. Rosa closes the bakery door and watches the people walking down the street. Every passing face carries a story, some of pain, others of new beginnings. She smiles because she's learned that this is what life is all about: falling, getting up, and moving on, even if your heart still bleeds. In that gentle silence of dusk, she sits on the bench in front of the store. She takes out the rosary she always carries and holds it between her fingers. It was all worth it, she thinks. Because every tear taught me the value of faith, and every injustice showed me the power of truth. The camera slowly zooms in, capturing the peaceful gleam in his eyes. The narration begins in a calm, soulful tone. Skin color should never determine the weight of distrust. But we still live in a world that judges first and listens later. Rosa was accused, humiliated, and branded for a mistake she didn't make. But what no one expected is that she would use this pain as fuel to blossom. As the voice narrates, images show snippets of her journey: the simple house, the crying in the backyard, the moment the necklace is discovered, and finally, the bakery bursting with life. All woven together by a soft and moving soundtrack. Men's justice fails, but God's is never late. It comes when the heart remains clean, even when the world tries to dirty it. And when it comes, it doesn't come to humiliate, it comes to heal. Rosa gets up from the bench, looks up at the sky, and closes her eyes. The wind blows her hair, and a peaceful expression takes over her face. The narrator continues: Rosa taught us that true victory isn't about proving anything to anyone, but about continuing to believe in goodness, even when the world doubts it. Because those who have faith don't need to win loudly, they win silently. The scene shifts to inside the bakery. Daniel and Tiago help their mother close the register. "Are you tired, Mom?" Tiago asks. She smiles. "Tired, yes. But happy." He hugs her, and the frame focuses on the shop's illuminated sign: "Sweet truth, love and justice in every piece." The final narration ends gently: she was accused for who she was. But what the world has forgotten is that light doesn't ask for permission to shine. And when the truth comes out, it doesn't destroy, it liberates. The sound of a soft bell rings, and the screen slowly fades to black. The truth doesn't need to shout. It just waits for the right moment to be heard.